Hey guys, I am so sorry that this 6x6 mini album, simple and fast, that I haven't finished it up with you guys yet. I was sick. Oh my lord. So it's been well over a week since I posted, and so here we are. This is Lisa, One Happy Place Creations, and I am going to show you how we are going to make our cover. We've already done this in the previous video with this is Kathy Orders Hidden Hinge System, and with the Tyvek on it. I have started putting some tape. I happen to have a wide tape, so this is all one solid piece, and I will add some more to this. Okay, so for this process you're going to need sequin tape, score tape, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I have some wide. You can use whatever you have. This is 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch, but whatever you have is fine. You're going to need a bone folder. You're going to need some glue. You're going to need some chipboard pieces. I'm going to explain to you how you figure out what size to cut out of your chipboard when you have your page. So these pages are 6 inches tall and 6 inches wide. So in order to put a book on this, when you look at any book, and you open up the pages are not as tall as the covers. And so when we build our books, that's the same principle we want to do, is we want our covers to be slightly larger than our pages. Now, all of my tags pull out from the side. But if you have tags, because in the beginning of I think the very first video, I explained to you how you could make the tags coming out the top. So if you chose that function, you're going to have to keep in mind how much space you're going to want for the tops of the tags for easy pull out. So say you have your tag here, and say you want it to stick out that far. Well, normally your books will be 1/4 of an inch from every edge piece, okay? And if you open any book and look at it, it's between 1/8 and 1/4 inch space from the pages to the top of the space between the pages and the top of the cover, and it protects your paper. Well, that's what we're looking at doing. But say you've got these big, huge, beautiful tags you want. If you don't want them to stick outside your book when you make measurements to figure out how big your cover has to be, you have to keep your tags in mind. So you would measure all the way across to the end of your tag and add 1/4 of an inch. Well, actually you're going to add 1/2 an inch because you want 1/4 of an inch on each side, if that makes sense to you. So just going back to this, I am going to have just pull tabs, like file folder tabs. So, and I'll get to the side in just a minute. But so anyway, 6x6. So I'm going I cut my chipboard 6.5 by 6.5. Okay, so I have 2 pieces of those. So it's a 1/2 inch larger on both sides for the page. Now, because mine are side loading, when you say this is this is your bottom cover, your page is not going to be centered in this book. It is going to be mainly here. It's going to be centered here and here, but it's not going to be centered between this end and this end. This is the top and the bottom, and then this is the spine side, so it's going to be closer to the spine side. So by me cutting this 6 1/2 this way, this gives me a solid, I'd say 3/8 of an inch for my pull-out tabs. So I will be able to have my little tags, and if they stick out a little bit, that's fine. But I'll be able to have little pull-out tags with my little file folders tags on them. So I'm completely happy with this. But again, if you're going to want to have a 1/2 inch tag, then 6 1/2 this way, but you're going to have to expand this a 1/2 inch to give it that space that you need. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. But rule of thumb, you're going to want 1/4 inch on each side. Now if you truly only want this side to have 1/4 inch, then you're going to want to cut this side down accordingly, okay? But that's normally how I do it to figure out my page sizes, my cover sizes, I mean. Now for the spine. My spine is, again, 6 1/2 because it has to be the same size as your cover. It's just kind of, you know, that's the way it is. And then when you do your spine, your hinge, I have my 6 pages. I have 1/4 inch in between each one. These are gussets. These are your hinges, and these, the space in between, are called gussets. All right, so I have 1/4 inch gussets. Well, putting all that together has created what the back of my book, the thickness of the back of my book. And then I also have, and whether you can see it or not, I am not sure, but I also have a 1/4 inch score line. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the last score line, the very first score line we made and the last score line we made, was 1/4 inch in on each side. Let me get, not the straightest drawer in the world, but some of this will get covered, so I just want to kind of put a line so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's 1/4 inch. I'm pretty sure you can see those lines on there, just kind of dash marks on each side. So what I do, because that's going to allow me to be decorating the back of this page, the front of this page, and also my covers. You know, you put pockets or flowers or whatever on your covers, so that is just another gusset that you need in order to have room for the book. If you strictly measured from the beginning of this hinge to the end of this hinge and made your spine that size, you would have no room for the front and back page to have any kind of embellishments, and you would impede the turn abilities of your front and back page. They would not lay down nicely. Okay, so if you just measure from, let me get the ruler right here, from this crease, this score line to this score line, our front gusset and our back gusset, that is 2 inches. Okay, so, but I don't want, this is also where I want my fold to be, is on these 2 score lines, or right in that vicinity. I'm not looking at widening my book out. So if I did 2 inches from this measurement to this measurement, if I made my spine that big, then my fold for my book is going to be even longer. And I don't really want that. So I made my spine, I subtracted 1/4 of an inch. So I am somewhere in between these 1/4 of an inches gussets where I'm going to get my bend from my book. Okay, so if you truly want that full 1/4 on both sides, I am not building up my front and back cover, nor am I building up my front or my back page. So I did not want to utilize that entire 1/4 of an inch on both sides. But if you want to, those are the means to know where you go. So if I knew I was going to put like big pockets and everything else, then I would do a 2-inch spine. And that would give you that full 1/4 of an inch on both sides before the bend of the book, the front and the back cover bend. Okay, so that will help you figure out what you want to do. You do have to have an idea. You don't have to have it all done, but you do have to have an idea of what you're going to do with your front and back covers and your front page and back page, so that you know where you want this to be. All right, so mine is 6.5 by 1 3/4. Okay, so that's what my spine is. So now we're going to start putting things together. Okay, so this was just a piece that ripped off incorrectly, so it's just sitting there. Now, when you put score tape down, this is the Tyvek. Now, this Tyvek, this is the one and only thing, I think. Yes, 5 inches by 6.5. When you put score tape down and you always are having problems with it, if you burnish it, the top cover will come up so much easier. All right, and you do it the same on everything you put down. Burnish it, and it comes up so much quicker. I can't promise that it'll always do it, but it really does help. Okay, so I had already put some of the tape down just to save on time, so you're getting more of the interesting stuff since I don't know how to edit yet. And I'm not really worried about getting it perfectly straight, but it does need to be somewhat straight. The reason we're using the Tyvek is the folds in the book get a lot of use, and my spine cover is going to be paper, and this is paper. So those are the two things between my spine, which is in the back, and this, which is going to go in the inside. Those folds are the only thing that's holding the book together. So this Tyvek really adds another layer of strength, because this stuff is tough. So it just adds that little bit more strength. And remember, burnish, because this is what gives you that, really gets those fibers down into that silkwine tape and makes it a good solid permanent hold. Okay. All right, so now I've got to move this so I have a little more room here. Now I've got my front and my back cover, and these are just going to go like this. Okay, I have my top. I did this so you could see it if you needed to. The top, the bottom, the hinge, the outside. You can write on these because they're going to get covered. If you need to remind yourself of things or whatever, you just work it out. Now, as far as figuring out the distance between here, you have to really keep in mind of the chipboard. I made a book a while back where I used heavyweight chipboard. This is medium weight chipboard. And I didn't take that into account when I was putting my page together, and I only left about a 1/8 of an inch space. Well, that did not allow me enough room for opening and closing with the heavyweight chipboard once there was a piece of paper going into that crease. Because remember, we are going to be placing this over this, so that piece of paper is going to be going, you know, getting into that area as well as the pieces that are going to come over to cover this. So you have to keep all of those things in mind. Now, I made myself, just out of the bits and pieces, all of this was out of my scrap bin. Yay, using up my scraps. But I had bits and pieces, and I made myself a template. Got one that's actually as long as the thing, but you really don't need it. It's just to give you an eyeball of where it should be, because you need at least 2 spaces. And as you can see, that, let's see, that is 1/8 of an inch, which is 2 spaces worth of this. Gives you plenty of room. When you're dealing with a fatter material, you are going to have to widen it out to give your book room for those folds to work. Okay? Just FYI. All right. So now, to put these covers on, you're going to put a piece of sequin tape. I'm going to leave that on for right now. You're going to take a piece of sequin tape, and you're going to put on the edge here, and then also, and I don't think I burnished this, on the edge here. And we're going to do, and if I was where I could see, because I've got camera stuff all over here, I have a hard time seeing. So I normally eyeball it, but the biggest thing is, and you can do it this way as well, so you're not really hooking it down. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that you are lined up. And I've got to stand up. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to get my head in the way. Yeah, see, I'm not. I'm off. Sorry, head in the way. Put this down and get an idea. And here we go. Okay, so again, I went a little over 1/8 of an inch, but I am even everywhere. So I'm happy with that. And I'll try and do the same on the other side. Okay. Sorry about the head, guys, but, you know, there's just certain things you got to get right up on top of. So now I'm going to take this side off and do the same thing. I didn't want to waste that little piece of tape. That's going to make the whole book so much better, so much stronger. All right, now you can also do it this way. Come off of there. Again, eyeballing the distance. And there we go. Okay. And give it a nice burnish. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to have nice strong hinges, and we've got plenty of room for the book to bend and do its thing. Can you see that? Just nice, plenty of room. It's going to have good motion to it. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is cover our book. And this is the outside of the book, okay? And I am going to, no, on the outside of the book, when we're ready to cover, I will put my ATG gun onto the paper so that it's nice and not going to move around. You want to make sure that you've got that all set up. Don't take your silk wind tape across here. It just thickens it up too much. You're going to have it on your paper, which is fine. That'll be enough. But it also makes noises if it doesn't make contact with something. When you close it up, it sticks. When you open it up, it pops up and it makes a noise. And I find it very aggravating. So, just put it on your ends. Some people do this and some people don't. I personally go for the side of caution and put things, because I want my books to last, because people buy them and they want a quality product. If it's something that you're just making that is going to be something that's going to be just looked at once in a while, or you know, it's for you and you're gonna, you know how to, oops, I'm sorry guys, I hate when I do that. Or you know it's just not gonna get used that much, not gonna be opened up or looked at, then don't worry about it. Save the money and don't do this. But, okay. So there's my tape around the edges of this. Get my bone folder here. I had to buy myself a new bone folder because after I took the time to clean mine, I lost it. I have looked everywhere. While I was sick, crawling around on the floor trying to find my bone folder. Okay, so my front and my back covers are going to go on first. I have a trick that I use. I'm going to move this out of the way. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water. These are two exactly the same sheets. And it really doesn't matter if they're like totally lined up from the front and the back, because there's going to be a cover. However, if you want things that are going to line up perfectly and look just right, then what you can do, especially easy with the Tim Holtz ruler, because there's a ruler this way as well as this way. But you can take that line, that half-inch line, line it all the way up on your paper. Take a pencil and go across. And then you can do the same thing on the other one. So you're going to do one this direction, and then you're going to do one this direction. Alright, and one over here. Use a half-inch line. Oops. Okay. So then when you're putting your pages on, you've got something to line your book up on, and you know that you're going to get exactly in the same spot on this side as well as this side. Okay, so if you have a pattern that's going all the way across and you're interested, even if you have a larger sheet, if you're doing a 12 by 12 or two 8.5 by 11s or two 12 by 12 stuck together, if you mark at least one corner and the bottom all the way down, then you will know that you've got everything gonna line up perfectly. that you're not getting it crooked on the page or anything like that, because you've got your corners to match up with. Okay, so going to, 1/4 inch. Gonna put some tape on my ends of my paper. Now I don't go all the way to the corner, but I go a bit into the corner, because when I cut it off, I still want to make sure I have tape on the part that I cut off. But I would much rather cut off a little piece and know I have it all the way to the end than trying to get it all the way to the end, you know. Okay, and then up here. Yeah, they need to be, and then this. Don't forget to do this inside piece, because it needs to stick as well. All right. So now we've got everything. Oopsie. I caught that just right and sent it shooting. Well, it will still work. It's just going to be a little off the page, but we'll take care of that. Okay, I'm also going to do my ATG. And I'm not going into my score lines. I'm just kind of, I guess some of my ATG looked a little dirty there. I don't want this stuff moving. I want a nice solid hold on my book. So now we're going to take this stuff off. And I'm just going to fold this piece back on itself. Okay. Now, one thing I should have done, so sorry, before I took the sticky off, was cut my corners. Now, so even, you know, when you do this, you have this, but what you want to do is, there's a lot of people that cut them and go straight across. Well, if you notice, a lot of times they don't get this area covered on the inside of their book, so then it's kind of awkward looking. So if you, this gives you a good guide. There's the straight up and down of the corner. We want at least 1/8 of an inch, if not more, if not like 3/16, so not quite a quarter, away from this, so that we've got something to fold in to when we close this flap, which we will get to. So we're going to take a slight angle in, so not straight in, just to come away from that straightness and cut, and then back out. Okay, so that left me with something to fold over. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Now I don't have my piece yet, so we can just wait till we get this on. Okay, so I'm going to line this corner up with this corner, down this line and up this line. Okay. Corner right. And there we go. So there's that. Always want to make sure that you are not in this crease with your paper. Okay? once I get this folded over, I will sling it around and burnish all the outside edges. So we're going to go ahead and we do the top and the bottom first. And I'm going to remove this. Well, I'm going to remove the part I need and leave this on the, so just pull this off. Cover it back up again. Okay. So, to get it started, you're just going to bend the paper. Take your bone folder. Give it a nice crisp crease. There we go. Go ahead and pull this so that it's not in the way. And then you're going to pull it around. There we go. There's that. And we'll hit that in a minute. Okay, start this end. Push and just kind of start it. Fold it over. Then you're going to make sure that you're getting a good, nice, solid, crisp crease. There we go. And then you're going to pull it around. And you're kind of pulling it with your fingers instead of pushing it down. You're kind of pulling it so that you're working all of the, you know, making sure you're getting it as tight as possible around that corner. All right. Oh, yeah. See, if you don't cut it, this is what could happen. So let's see what we can do with this. And you probably were all screaming at me. But you know what, guys? This kind of thing, it's okay. It really, truly is just fine. It's gonna, you've got ways of fixing it. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting away what I normally would have cut away. So I left my little nib that I needed. I left the little piece that I needed to fold in, and then it's, so see, no biggie, no biggie. All right, so now we're going to finish the end here. We're going to grab our bone folder and we're going to fold in the piece of paper, the little end right there, and it makes us a nice little crease. Take this side. Here, let me get close enough so you can really see what I'm doing. And Lord help me, I hope I remember. Is it gonna pull it out